Testing, test, testing, testing. Good morning. What's today's date? Today is Thursday, January 5th, 4th, 5th, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. Can you hear me? Oh, keep going. Okay. Well, I'm Christy Love. I'm a Cancer. I'm a comedian as well. Testing, 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 testing. All right. Today is Thursday, January 5th, 2023. Happy New Year. Christmas was great. Good morning. Awesome.
We are good with that. I am flipping audio. Oh, yeah, all right, flipping.
Good morning. How's everybody? So glad to see you. On behalf of the team at Detroit Employment Solution Corporation, Payne Pulliam School, our Executive Director, Mrs. Betty E. Pulliam, and our dedicated staff, we welcome you to the Detroit at Work Career Center, East Warren. My name is Trudy Matthews, and I'm the Career Center Director. This state-of-the-art facility, and I do mean state-of-the-art, please make sure you take time to walk around, premiered back in about 7 months ago in July, right here on the corner of Radnor and East Warren. The community has welcomed us with open arms, and in turn, our staff has serviced proudly the City of Detroit's East Side customers. You know, we believe here at the center in meeting the customer where they are, and then, of course, preparing them for the workforce. And so we offer many opportunities, including scholarships, training, high school completion, learn to earn, also expungement services, financial coaching. We also offer support services, unemployment services, not to mention all the resources that we offer as well. But let's not forget employment opportunities. Since we've been here back in July, we've serviced about 700 new customers in the city of Detroit. And we've employed about 290 residents. Our BSR team, that's the bomb over here. Also, what we'd like to say is, since the service has been open, we are pleased, absolutely ecstatic to be part of the opportunity rising in the city of Detroit. And today we have with us the man who's responsible for the success of the city of Detroit. So I want you to help me welcome the 75th mayor of the great city of Detroit, Mayor Mike Duggan.
Well, thank you, Trudy, and I can't think of a better way to say Happy New Year that when the federal government released the statistics showing Detroit's unemployment rate was under 7% for the first time in 22 years. We are starting to see Detroit's recovery reach everybody, and that was our goal. And Nicole Sherrod-Freeman and the economic development team that have brought so many jobs here deserve a lot of credit. Dana Williams and the Detroit at Work team that operate out of 9 centers like this, training Detroiters. But most of the credit comes to the residents of the city themselves. When I got elected, the unemployment rate was 18%. In May of 2020, at the peak of COVID, it was at 38%. To be down to 6% means the people of this city did the hard work to go out and get the jobs, to go to the training programs, to go to the GED programs. It's the residents of this city that are doing it. And here's the interesting thing. We can do better. Through most of my adult life, the unemployed were in the city and the jobs were in the suburbs. I watched jobs move to the suburbs for decades. Today, the jobs are being created in Detroit. Detroit is the epicenter of job creation in Michigan. There's 8,400 open jobs in the city today. And so the new Jeep plant is open, but we're about to have 2 500-employee seating plants, LM and Lear, open in the city. We're about to have 1,200 jobs open at Amazon. Ford is about to open the train station with 5,000 affiliated jobs. We're going to have new hotels and restaurants coming with hospitality jobs. We're going to see major expansion of the healthcare system with healthcare jobs. And so we have an opportunity we've never had. The jobs are here. And so our responsibility now is to make sure that we're creating these jobs in Detroit, a lot of good paying jobs in Detroit. We need to make sure Detroiters get those jobs. And we've had great success. 4,000 people hired at the Jeep plant were all Detroiters. We created that pathway. But what Detroit at Work offers today. This was a bowling alley. Not that I don't like bowling, but the folks on the east side needed an employment training center a lot more than they needed a bowling alley. And we've got 9 of these centers open where you can walk in and you can tell the workers, what's your dream? You want to be a chef? We have a track for you. You want to do computer skills? We got a tech track for you. You want to build buildings? We've got a construction track for you. You love healthcare? We've got a healthcare track for you. Whatever is in your heart, whatever your talent is, Detroit at Work will get you the training and put you on the path to a good paying job. So 6.4% is a step in the right direction, but we're still higher than the rest of the state. And I'm not going to be satisfied until Detroit's unemployment rate is lower than the surrounding communities. And the way we're creating jobs here and the way we're running training programs here, I think that is very possible. And when we conceived of Detroit at Work, we had this idea that there would be centers that anybody could walk into who had in their heart a desire to get a job and had a dream and a career path, and we could help them pursue their dream. And the person who's been running these 9 centers and is a big part of today's success is Dana Williams. Dana, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to the illustrious Ms. Betty Pulliam and the Payne Pulliam team here at the East Warren location. You know, I grew up not too far from here. I grew up on Balfour, right at Cadju and Moross. So this would have been my center had I needed the type of assistance that we're providing here today. So because of the long history in the city of preparing Detroiters for work, we truly value Payne Pulliam as one of our system partners. So as has already been said, they are one of 9 career centers like this one located around the city. That means that there's at least one in every single district. They're located along public transportation routes, and no Detroiter is more than 3 miles away from employment support. And you heard Trudy Matthews, the executive director of this location, talk about the types of services that we offer. As a system, every year we train about 3,000 people to work in growing fields. And you heard the mayor talk about some of them: construction, manufacturing, healthcare, IT, and so on and so forth. And by working with our network of nearly 3,000 employers, and that number grows every single day, we place about 5,000 Detroiters into regular employment, and let's not forget, 8,000 young people through Grow Detroit's Young Talent Program into summer employment on an annual basis. And so our customers are working at well-known companies as well as at local neighborhood establishments. And the average wage of all of the jobs that we're working on right now is over $17 an hour, some as high as $35 to $40 an hour. They're on a professional track. And we've got everything from production operators with Dakota to CDLA truck drivers with Universal, nurses and welders and account specialists, IT managers, customer service reps with companies like JP Morgan Chase. You heard the mayor talk about LM Manufacturing, Marathon Oil, Henry Ford Health. If you want to be connected to some of these great employers that are right here in the city of Detroit, please don't hesitate to reach out to Detroit at Work. We've got jobs across nearly every industry. And in addition, most of those jobs are background friendly. So if you've been involved with the justice system in any way, you heard about the expungement services offered here as well, please don't let that stop you from reaching out. And likewise, if you never finished high school, or if you feel like you want to brush up on your math or your reading skills, we can help you there too. In fact, you can earn $10 an hour for up to $20 a week to do just that in our Learn to Earn program. And if you're truly committed for that time period, you can do that in as little as 4 to 6 months. So it's easy to get started. It's DetroitAtWork.com or call 313-962-WORK. DetroitAtWork.com or 313-962-WORK. So now I'd like to introduce you to someone who has truly benefited from the services of Detroit at Work. Sashay, why don't you come up here and join me? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shashay Langford. When I first started with Payne and Pilliam, I was kind of on my knuckles. I didn't have anything. I didn't have child care at the time, no income, no GED, no high school diploma. But Payne and Pilliam helped me get over all of those barriers. Not only did they help me make those barriers, but they also helped me with interviewing and getting close for interviews and everything of that nature. And forever I'll be grateful for that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sashay. And this is not a one-day announcement. Did we pick January 30th? Is that the date we picked? So the evening of January 30th, we're going to do a show broadcast over all of the different web pages, the city site, et cetera, that is going to show Detroiters all of the jobs available, bring in people. It'll essentially be a community-wide jobs forum. We're going to show you if you've got a criminal record, here's how Operation Clean Slate helps you get that clear. If you don't have a high school degree, here's how you make $10 an hour while you take the classes in your spare time. If you can't read well enough to qualify for a GED program, we'll pay you $10 an hour to go to literacy classes so that you can learn to read. If you're in a job at $12 an hour washing dishes and something inside you said, I want to be a chef and make a lot more, we'll provide training programs for you to do that. We're going to have an entire evening on January 30th, and we're going to pursue this, and we hope that the people of the city, it's going to be for Detroiters. That's who we serve here at Detroit at Work. But we want to make it an evening, and that'll be followed up by 4 career fairs across the city in February. 6.4% is not something that we're celebrating and stopping. We're going to keep going until everybody in the city who wants a job is working, and we're not that far away. And with that, we've had a great partner on every single one of these programs. She lives right next door. Please welcome Councilmember Letitia Johnson.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, and as Mr. Mayor said, I do live right down the street from here, and so this is an honor and a privilege. I saw the facility under construction. It gives me just a proud moment to be able to say one of my areas of focus is creating access for Detroit residents and making sure that all of our residents can get to these types of training facilities very close and nearby their home. And so that's why this is so extremely important for me, because we're creating these opportunities throughout the entire city of Detroit. And the mayor knows that when I first took office, my focus was always on the east side of Detroit, because so many times we'd hear about activities happening on the west side, and he's listening and he's bringing these facilities here because we need to make sure that our residents on the far east side, on the east side of Detroit, has access, can get to these locations, and the East Warren bus brings us right to this location. And so it's important to make sure that we applaud the 6.4%, but that we also recognize that there are individuals who will be newly entering the workforce, and also those who may say it's time for me to go back into the workforce just because of inflation rates and things that are changing, just to be able to live more comfortably. And to have these types of facilities throughout our neighborhoods to provide access to that support, to help with completing a resume, to help with, I'm happy to hear that we'll be doing expungement fairs and helping people to address that, to get their records clear. And so that is extremely important, because we know we need to make sure that Detroiters are working in well-paid jobs and also have the ability to get paid to train. For anyone who says, you know what, I'm not really sure where I am, where I want to be, you have the opportunity to get paid to train and then enter a new career field, so that we make sure we are all where we need to be, all where we want to be, so that we can all live in the city of Detroit together, harmoniously and comfortably. So thank you all so much for being here. And let me always say that this is District 4. We're ecstatic to have this in District 4, and I used to work just around the corner from here, so just love seeing this facility and what the vibrancy is bringing to this community and the support that it's bringing to our residents. Thank you all.
Okay. So you see why she's doing so well representing the East Side. With that, we'll take any questions.
So childcare is a major
Right.
for a lot of folks,
Right. So-
single parent. You guys offer some social programs.
We do. In fact, the Jumpstart program, which City Council recently approved, and I'll be detailing how it works on the presentation the night of the 30th, but basically, if you've been unemployed for 6 months, in addition to whatever you're being paid, whether it's $10 an hour to go to class or whether it's a training program, the city will support you at $600 a month for the first 6 months, $400 a month the second 6 months, and $200 a month the third 6 months. Now, you may have a back rent issue you need to deal with. You may have a child care issue. You may not have a car, need a transportation issue. And so we call it Jumpstart, because on top of whatever else you're making, that $600 a month is going to be there. And what Councilmember Johnson just said is true. We've got people who have dropped out of the workforce. We need to come back. I can keep landing these companies, but I can't land them if we don't fill the jobs. That's been our competitive advantage. And we're hoping that Jumpstart will cause a lot of folks to say, I can't look for a job, I've got these 2 young children, I can't look for a job, I don't have a car, and nothing's along the bus line. What Jumpstart's going to do for our long-term unemployed is give you that additional lift. And I know Dana and the team at Detroit at Work are extremely pleased to be able to say to somebody who's been unemployed for 6 months, on top of everything else, sign up, it's another $600 a month. There isn't a city in the country that is backing people pursuing their dreams like the city of Detroit is, and I couldn't be more pleased at the way City Council has supported every one of these efforts on the employment side.
What's it like watching that transition since you've been with this?
I'm not sure that I've had a more powerful experience than when we did the job fairs for the Jeep plant. And to see 20 and 22-year-olds come up to me afterwards and say, I never thought my city cared about me. I never thought I'd see the day that my city landed a job nearby and then gave Detroiters preference. This is a hard thing if you're not from here to understand. But for as long as most of us, at least anybody my age can remember, the factories left, the gas stations left, the movie theaters left, the restaurants left. People just abandoned the city and the job opportunities. And so there is nothing more powerful than when residents of the city, many who I'm sure never voted in an election, come up to you and say, I'm glad I live in a city where my city's fighting for me. And we got to keep our young people here, and that's a big part of it.
Mayor, do we have a sense of how big the city's workforce is?
We've got the exact numbers. We can get them for you from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's the number who report themselves as unemployed and looking for work. All across this country, of course, there are people, predominantly men of working age, who are not in the workforce. That's a national issue. But locally, we've started this other program called Community Health Corps. And I know it's hard for you to cover all this stuff, but Community Health Corps is a really interesting thing. It goes into the homes of the very poor and sits in the living room. And we've got people who are about to be evicted because they can't pay their rent. We got people whose heat is being turned off, and we sit and say, there's programs for you. We've sat in living rooms with folks who didn't have food because they couldn't figure out how to fill out the forms for the bridge cards. And so we sit in the living rooms, we stabilize those in extreme poverty. Now they know where they're going to live. Now the food is taken care of. Now we can have a conversation about a job training program. But if you're worried about diapers for your child tomorrow, you don't want to hear somebody come talk to you about some job training program, right? We got to start, we have to meet people where they are. And so if you think about what we've done from Community Health Corps for people who are just trying to get by, to Jumpstart for people who've been unemployed for 6 months with the extra pay, to the whole range of training programs that could be for people who are working in a job today but want to be trained for something else for the rest of their lives. All these pieces, I think, are coming together really well.
So it says on this release that there's about 8,400 jobs available
Right.
today. How many of them, does that include jobs with the city of Detroit itself? And if so, how many
Dana?
vacancies are there?
Thank you for your question. So it does include some of the jobs with the city of Detroit. However, the mayor probably knows this. There are actually a ton of jobs with the city, and we don't necessarily work on every single one of them, but I can tell you it's a good number of the departments within the city itself, especially those that are entry level. So if folks are looking to simply get their foot in the door at the city, Detroit at Work can actually help them connect with the city of Detroit HR department and get some of those roles as well.
There's a lot of folks who have jobs, but they're looking for work, maybe because they're underpaid or, that seems to be kind of the main reason. So I'm interested in, is there any kind of follow-up long-term when people graduate from this program to see that their wages are increasing over time?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so folks who come into our centers and receive what we call intensive services, we actually follow up with them for a year to make sure that they're maintaining that job where they were, that they're not encountering any other issues on the job itself, to continue to support them with barrier removal, right? Maybe when they started the job, they had a car that was working, but after they got there, car broke down. Now they're not able to go. They've got attendance issues, right? So we do that follow-up for a year after they are placed into those positions.
But you're asking a good question. This isn't just for people who are unemployed. If you're in a job that's not paying enough, your rent's going up, and you say, how am I going to pay this higher rent? And property values are rising in the city. That's just a reality of what we're dealing with. We've got training programs that will get you into higher paying jobs with benefits for the long run, so that, the goal really here is we're now more than 50% home ownership, but the goal really is to get you in a situation where you can buy a house, you never have to worry about a landlord again. And a lot of the folks that the team here have helped come back with those stories.
Mayor, if I could get you one off topic in regard to Senator Stabenow's announcement today.
All right.
That she won't be seeking re-election. Just your thought on her career, her work with the city of Detroit, and potential other candidates. The rumor is out there already. I've even heard your name out. Throwing it to you.
Well, thank you. Senator Stabenow's done a tremendous job for the state, and I congratulate her on going out on her terms on top. She's the number 3 leader in the entire U.S. Senate, so she'll be a real loss. But as far as me, when I ran for re-election in 2021, there were some people out there who started rumors that I was really going to go to Washington. And I made a promise to the people of Detroit in 2021 that if I were reelected, I'd serve my full 4 years. The promise I made to Detroiters is ironclad. There is no circumstance under which I'll be running for the Senate.
Having said that, do you have anybody that you want? Granted, we're still in its infancy, but a number of candidates come to mind publicly.
I've had 3 calls already this morning, so people are not waiting that long. You're going to see some pretty prominent names jump in pretty quickly, I think. But I'm sure I will end up supporting somebody. Right now, I'm just going to let Senator Stabenow accept the congratulations for the remarkable job she's done for us. Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, going back to these unemployment numbers, the chart that you released, the numbers go up and down month to month, year to year. Are you basically saying at this presser that you expect the numbers to continue to go down or where they are?
Again, I don't make predictions on the future. What I've done is facts. So we are the first time below 7% since the year 2000, and we have 8,400 jobs open in Detroit today, and we have a whole team of people committed to making sure that every Detroiter who wants a job gets one. Ultimately, you need 2 things, and we've seen it. We need folks who come in and get the training programs and fill the jobs, and we'll see. But I'm not going to predict recession trends or anything else. All I know is to have the lowest rate in 22 years while people are nationally predicting a recession, it's a pretty great accomplishment.
But relative to the state unemployment rate and also the national unemployment rate, the rate in Detroit is extraordinarily high. I think it's almost one of the highest for a city of our size in the nation.
Yeah. Again, and this is what we deal with every day. 8 years ago, we had the highest unemployment rate in the state. Now we don't. Now there's several communities that have a higher rate than we do. But if you looked at the report on the workforce that I got my first month that said the job openings are all in the suburbs and the 18% unemployment rate is in the city, and there's no regional transportation system, it's an unsolvable problem. That was the 2014 analysis. We've brought tens of thousands of jobs back to this city, and we've dropped the unemployment rate, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So in the next 12 months, you are going to see Amazon open, seating plants open, new hotels open. You're going to see a major new healthcare expansion come. You're going to see Ford open. We're going to see and lots of construction jobs open with what's happening with District Detroit. So all I can do is bring the jobs to the city, make the training available to Detroiters so they get first shot at those jobs. And as we've seen, we got from 18% to 6% because Detroiters took advantage of it. I hope we're going to see that trend continue, and I'm going to do everything I can. But this is literally the first time in my lifetime every Detroiter who wants a job can get one today. We've never seen that, and it's exciting.
Can you talk a little bit more about the January 30th event? What is that?
Yeah. So you've been asking all these questions here, right? Community Health Corps, Jumpstart, Detroit at Work, and it's we've put together a lot of pieces. And what's happened, and I know Councilmember Johnson can talk about this too, we had, of the $800 million in the American Rescue Plan money, almost $200 million one way or another was breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty, Skills for Life, and a number of these programs. What I want to try to do is have one evening where all of these programs are explained. And so if I talk about a literacy program for somebody who reads perfectly well but is washing dishes, they're not listening to me. It doesn't matter to them. But if somebody else is saying, I tried to get this job and my inability to read kept me from even getting an interview, that matters to them. And so I want to have one night where I talk to this whole community and say, here's how the programs work. And it's going to say this: if you're in extreme poverty, you're afraid you're going to lose your home, you're food insecure, here's the Community Health Corps. If you're ready to go to work, but literacy is standing in your way, here's how you make $10 an hour to learn to read. If you can read just fine, but you don't have a high school degree, and you can't apply for a job at $50,000 an hour and $50,000 in benefits at a Jeep plant if you don't have a high school degree. They won't even take your interview. But you're 12 months away, we'll pay you to take those classes nights and weekends while you stay in your current job. If you've been unemployed for 6 months, here's how the Jumpstart program comes to give you additional help. If you'd like to work for the city in Skills for Life, where you work 20 hours a week on the job site and 20 hours a week in training programs, here's how Skills for Life works. I'm going to spend a night where basically I just talk to Detroiters and say, no matter what your dream is, there is a job available here in the city. You don't have to go to Chicago or someplace else, and your city government is behind you. Here's the way you access it. And if it works, I did this before when the auto insurance bill passed. I did it when the child tax credit passed. We did one of these events where we answered the questions, and then we watched. It was viewed thousands of times later by people who were trying to figure out how to access it. So we're trying to create the same kind of environment. And I want to give Councilmember Johnson a chance to talk about this, because all the things that we have been knitting together to create opportunity, she has been a big sponsor of. Councilmember?
Thank you. So it's enlightening for me to see all of these programs exist in the city. One of the challenges that we have, though, is getting the information to our residents who need it most. And so that's why this event is extremely important. It's an opportunity for everyone to listen, to understand what these programs are and what they do, and to share that information with our neighbors, with our residents, with our family who can benefit from it the most. But it is everything that hinders us from getting employment that the city is addressing, at literally everything. And so anyone who wants a job will be able to get a job going through any of these individual programs to help address their personal challenges that they're having currently to be able to overcome them. So it's extremely important, and I hope that we put a spotlight on that event for that day so that we broadcast it throughout the entire city and give people the access to be able to see it, review it, and come back and come to the city to make sure that the resources that we provide for these programs are being effective. Because that's our goal. Our goal is to make sure that we can get our residents employed and make sure that they are employable. But we know we have to deal with some things that are uncomfortable for residents, and just giving them that opportunity to be able to address those things in their own personal life, to be able to move forward.
And are these programs all funded through ARPA funds, or where is the money coming from?
Yeah, we can draw an amazing network, but there are federal job training funds, there's city general funds, there's American Rescue Plan funds, there's employer contribution funds. Detroit Public Schools are involved in some of the education side. What Dana and Detroit at Work have done is knit together probably a half a dozen different funding sources. And we are going to try to lay this out. And you guys are asking all the right questions tonight. But this is the longest I've answered questions about job training programs since I've been here. And this tells you the need for this January 30th event, is we're going to talk about all of this in detail. But the American Rescue Plan money needs to be spent by 2026. It's not something that's going away next year. Our plan is to use this in a thoughtful way that sustains the recovery over a long period of time.
Mayor, there's been some talk in Lansing about allowing Detroit to set residency requirements for city employees.
Yeah.
Is that something you're
Okay.
advocating for?
I've always been in favor of that, and if Lansing, that was the right to impose residency requirements by negotiated collective bargaining agreement was taken away when John Engler was the governor and Dennis Archer was the mayor with the Republican legislature. Whether the legislature is going to repeal that or not, I would support it, but it's something that if it the law of the state today is no city can require somebody to live in the city as a condition of employment. It applies to everybody. I support changing that. If they do it, we'd have to go to the bargaining table. We can't just impose something. But that's something that we'd be interested, certainly for police and fire in particular.
Are you and Speaker Tate, are you coming up with maybe a plan to push those along?
Again, I have a whole series of priorities. The thing that I'm talking to Councilmember Tate about is we got only 56 votes in the House and only 20 votes in the Senate. That is the bare minimum. If we go in on the hot controversial issues first, you're going to derail Democratic leadership. But from my standpoint, we need an affordable housing fund coming out of Lansing in a significant way. I want that as priority one. Second, we need long-term water affordability funding. Congress provides affordability funding for heat and electricity, does not provide it for water. Our congressional delegation has failed at getting federal money for water. I'd like to see the state of Michigan create a water affordability fund so the $18 lifeline that we now have funded for another year and a half is there permanently. And so I'd also like to see a law enforcement revenue sharing fund created to support police and fire in cities across the state. These, to me, are things that would matter to our residents and are passable. And so I'm going to be encouraging the legislators to adopt, as the first thing out of the box, a Democratic agenda that improves quality of life. And then there are a number of other issues that are going to lead to a major partisan fight, and those need to be taken up. But my hope is we get some really important things done first before they move on to the bigger fights.
Sorry, just for clarity, do you think the residency requirement falls into the controversial bucket, or do you?
I think there'd be a very significant opposition in Lansing from the unions. So whether it could pass or not, I don't know. But right now, if the legislature would create a $100 million affordable housing fund for this state, they would do an enormous amount of good. You talk to people in Traverse City, they can't get workers for the summer tourism that can afford to live in their town. This is not just a Detroit issue. Affordable housing is a statewide issue. I'm hoping that gets taken up right out of the gate, and affordable water is a statewide issue. I hope the Democratic legislature takes those two issues up first. Anything else? All right, thank you all very much.